This is Barnstable Today for Tuesday, December 16th. Welcome aboard. I'm Mark Mumford.
The proposed Wilkins Ambulatory Medical Complex at Hadaway Park is our top story today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Friel.
Cape Cod Healthcare is behind the plans for a 40-acre site in Hyannis's Independence Park, purchased from Cape Cod Aggregates earlier in this decade.
Attorney Eliza Cox of the firm Nutter, McLennan and Fish represented Cape Cod Healthcare at informal site plan review.
The first phase consists of 2 buildings, and it's located, if you look back down at the A&R plan, in the lower corner of Lot A. The building closest to Gonzalez Road is a diagnostic pavilion consisting of approximately 47,600 square feet of gross floor area. It will house an imaging center, a women's health care center, and a walk-in center. The second building, which is located to the west or left of the diagnostic pavilion, is listed on the plans as a medical office building. The possible use of this building is still being reviewed and revisited by the hospital, and consideration is being given to a neuroscience building.
Barnstable Fire Department Chief Crosby, sitting with site plan review on this agenda item, spoke of new oversized stretchers now in use.
Well, I get you the specifications, but recently the building department regulations have changed from what was considered an EMS stretcher before. They're not able to handle the new heavy-duty stretchers. We have to buy stretchers now that accommodate 400, 500-pound patients. That's what we're looking at. I would assume in a medical facility, you may be moving people around on your own stretchers, but you're saying that's not the case?
No, this is an ambulatory facility, so people will be walking. I don't anticipate that we'll be moving people around by stretchers, and Pam, I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner Perry and committee members. For the record, my name is Pam Mace. I represent TRO Jung Brannon, the architectural firm. And yeah, that's correct, Liza. We don't anticipate any stretcher traffic within this building. The acuity of the patients will be such that they will all be ambulatory, with the exception of some wheelchair-bound patients, but there will not be any stretcher traffic within the facility, other than obviously any sort of medical emergency which may come around.
Health Division Director Tom McKean had a question in regard to handling waste at the proposed facility.
In those regards, but I do have a question about wastes, medical wastes, and also rubbish. Where will that be stored outdoors? On the master plan, I don't see any designated containers or anything of that nature shown on the plan.
If I might address that, that will be located between the 2 buildings. There's a service court loading dock area, and we have an updated plan now that does show dumpster locations. There will be a trash compactor and a cardboard recycling dumpster. We have that with us today, I believe. The updated site plan showing those dumpsters. Do we have that? Oh, sorry, we do not have that with us today. We can provide you that, though.
We will show those, though, on the next set of plans that are submitted for your review.
Will you also, do you also have a plan for medical waste disposal?
We do. Those will be kept within the building and picked up, regularly scheduled pickups.
And Site Plan Review Chair Tom Perry was concerned about parking issues.
One concern I have with this is, as we all know, many times with medical facilities, I mean, parking just becomes a nightmare because of stacking people waiting to be in here. I mean, what's going to be done with that? If you take the numbers of square footage, it meets the ordinance, but there has to be a balance too, because you don't want to see a parking either.
Right. I mean, this building will function more like a doctor's office than a hospital. So we're fairly confident with the parking numbers that we have. TRO is an architectural firm that specializes in healthcare facilities. So they've looked very carefully at the parking numbers that are proposed. And Pam, I don't know if you want to elaborate, but I presume that these are consistent with the type of parking spaces we anticipate will be required at the site.
Site Plan Review has asked to meet with Attorney Cox at an unspecified date after the project has navigated its way through the Cape Cod Commission portion of the process.
Meanwhile, Site Plan Review also heard a request from the fairly new Bernie and Phil's Furniture Store on Airport Road in Hyannis.
Attorney Cox also represents Bernie and Phil's, and she outlined the proposal to gain more showroom space.
The current proposal that is before you this morning is to remodel the interior of the building to convert approximately 6,900 square feet on the lower level from storage to furniture showroom space. As shown on the architectural plans that we submitted, hopefully you all have copies of those. The interior remodeling will also include a new lobby area with a staircase and an elevette, which is a lift that is going down and will give access to that lower level. The total showroom area proposed after this interior remodeling would be 16,764 square feet. That represents an increase of 4,764 square feet of showroom beyond what was approved by the zoning board in the conditional use special permit in 1994.
Site plan review will get back to the Bernie and Phil's request at a date and time not yet specified.
Meanwhile, the town recently held its Years of Service Employee Recognition Ceremony, with one very special employee achieving the 40-year mark. Town Manager John Klim provided the details.
One of us have reached the milestone of 40 years. Is that the first time since we've started? Yeah, in recent memory. I actually met this gentleman or heard or learned about this gentleman before I actually met him, because as I mentioned before, my father worked for the town and he worked for the highway department, and he would more than occasionally talk about a worker there, Johnny Lake. And he talked about not only the fact that he was an outstanding employee, but more so that he was a wonderful human being in person. His work ethic, his honor, his decency, an example for us all. And that was decades ago. Johnny Lake graduated from Barnstable High School in 1965. He has over 40 years of consecutive experience or service with the town of Barnstable. He worked as a seasonal laborer at Highway from 65 to 66 until he was drafted into the armed forces, where he served with distinction his country. He started full-time at the Highway Department as a maintenance craftsman in 1968. He was promoted to heavy equipment operator in 1973, was transferred to the DPW Sanitation Division in 1984, and finally was promoted to landfill foreman in 1986, and has held that position ever since. My father said that Johnny Lake was a gentleman and was one of the finest workers this town had. And he said that 30 years ago. He was right. Johnny Lake.
Schedule here in town is concerned, there are 3 meetings coming up this evening. At 6 o'clock, the Airport Commission at the airport. At 6:30, it's the Conservation Commission in the Town Hall hearing room. And then at 7, it's the Barnstable Historical Commission in the School Administration Building.
Tomorrow evening, the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historical District Commission meets at 7 in the School Administration Building. And at 7:30, it's the Shellfish Committee in the MEA Conference Room off Phineas Lane.
And just one quick note on a reoccurring theme, the folks over at the Senior Center continue to seek volunteer van drivers. If you're interested, give the Senior Center a call. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Friel.
We'll meet you right back here tomorrow. I'm Mark Mumford.